Hi everyone, this is going to be lesson 7 in our 16-week series looking at all the key things you need to go through for functional skills level 1 and level 2. This is actually our third lesson now, looking at speaking and listening. We're going to look at how to plan for the group discussion, the presentation and also the informal discussion at the end as well. Now if you haven't done so already, please can you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. Look at the images. How might they relate to speaking and listening? So we've got three pictures then. The first one being about people being around a load of different devices. We can see some tablets there, some laptops, and also what looks like someone writing on a pad. The second one, I'm sure we've all felt a little bit of this when thinking about our speaking and listening, is anxiety. So think about what that word means to you and how it makes you think about the speaking and listening assessment. And then finally, we've got a picture of just someone holding hands or shaking hands there to try and think what can you infer or what can you work out based on the image provided. Now if you want to spend more time thinking this through, please feel free to do so. We're now going to jump ahead and have a bit of feedback. Class feedback. Check your understanding against the teacher's ideas. So first of all then, if we think about image 1, we had a lot of people gathered around a table and they all seem to have some kind of device or tablet in front of them. So important thing to remember, when doing your group discussion, don't have your devices open during the assessment. Now it might be that you have your notes on your phone, but if you think about that from an outside perspective, the assessor or the examiner might not know that's what you're using it for, and from their point of view it's just going to look like you're being distracted and you're not paying attention to the overall discussion. Now if this is something that you need, or you feel like you're struggling with your notes, then do go through a little trial run with your group, see if you can help commit things to memory, and maybe even get each other to prompt each other with a few ideas that can lead towards what you want to be focused on. So image number 2 then. So we're thinking about anxiety. It's normal to feel a bit anxious. Remember, you're in a positive environment and everyone else is in the exact same boat as you. A lot of people do get very nervous when it comes to speaking and listening, and really that's the last thing we want. We want you to feel calm and comfortable. I know that's easier said than done, but the way to get over this is just to keep practicing, build those relationships with people in your group, and realise that you're there to support them and they're there to support you. So it's a mutual beneficial thing that if you both work together, if you all work together, then you'll get a success in your assessment. And number 3, remember, we are working on key skills that will help in interviews and future opportunities. So everything we're doing around functional skills is designed to get you ready for that next stage in life, be it interviewing for a job or continuing on higher education, for example. So we're thinking about getting those core skills that you really need to be successful within life. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to recall the key skills needed for speaking and listening, understand how to impress the examiner, and finally, apply your understanding to choose a topic and prepare for your assessment. Assessment preparation. Remember to use the success criteria when planning for your assessment. Now if it's the first time that you're seeing this, please do check out our other videos that go into it in more detail. This is actually the third or even the fourth video we have on this channel going through speaking and listening. So here's our success criteria then, and we went through this during our first proper lesson on speaking and listening. So to be successful in speaking and listening, you need to do the following things. So firstly, can you communicate in a clear and polite manner? Simple thing to think about. If people can't understand what you're going on about, if they can't really hear you or understand what you're saying, then you're not communicating in a polite or clear manner. Secondly, are you using positive body language to show you are listening? Now, if you're not sure if you use this, have a think about the conversations you have in everyday life. Think about what you're doing with your hands, what are you doing with eye contact, and those are going to be some real clear indicators whether someone's listening or listening positively when you're trying to communicate. Next, we have a clear line of argument. Now we spoke about this before in our previous videos. We've talked about how it's important to stick on that one main topic and how you can track whether someone has stayed with that argument as well. Adapt your tone to suit the needs of the audience. So are you actually explaining it in a way the audience will understand? Are you using formal or informal language? Respond effectively to feedback and questions. Now this is very important because you have to remember that at the end of your presentation you will be expected to answer some questions from the audience as well. So can you actually respond well on the spot? And can you give detailed feedback when it's requested for you? And the final one, contribute to the overall discussion, building on the ideas of your peers. So it's not just about having your say when you're doing the group discussion, it's about can you actually take on board what other people are saying, use that information, and then build on their response as you go forward. And that's really key for me because that really shows that you've been listening, paying attention, and being respectful to the other members of the group. Teacher's top tips. So here are a few things that you can do to help impress the examiner. So to make sure you grab the examiner's attention, make sure you can. Avoid using things like fillers. So this is when we're speaking out loud and we use words like and those kind of things that you hear a lot if you see anyone getting interviewed, particularly footballers as well, especially if they're English as a second language, and you can kind of see or hear that they're really struggling to grasp the right word they're trying to convey. Speak in a clear and calm voice. Now again, anxiety does play a big role, so if you are struggling, ask to do it in, let's say, a reduced group, ask maybe to do a trial run, or ask just a few people to remain in the group while the rest of them go out on a break. You don't need to do it necessarily in front of the whole class, so maybe just having 5 or 6 people around you to create a bit more of a calm atmosphere might help you as well. Use questions and answers. So this is a really good technique to use. So what you can do is you can ask a question or a target question to the audience, and then you provide them with the answer yourself. So for example, who would enjoy going here? Well, anyone who needs a desperate break. So by asking the question and actually giving the answer, it's showing that you have an understanding of the audience, and you also understand the importance of the topic that you're discussing as well. In this case, it sounds like the person is talking about somewhere they've visited or a holiday or something like that. Have handouts, Word documents, or a presentation. So these are good things because it shows that you've actually prepared, you've taken some time, and you've thought about what you want to do. And it also helps your assessor as well because they're going to have something physically in front of them to help them when they actually come and write up your documents for your actual assessment. Presentation and discussion ideas. So here are some of the more common ideas that you might come across if you're looking for a topic to choose. Now as we go through each of these, just look at each of them in turn and think, is it something that you either feel passionately about or something that you could talk about at length? So first of all then, we have, should all UK police be armed? Now this is quite a good topic, especially if you're thinking about using it for your group discussion. You might also get students who are from a different country, and with that comes different policies with things like gun control, so that might invoke quite a good or spirited conversation. Should mobile phones be banned from school? Now this is a good one as well, because this is quite a typical issue that we come across, especially if you're someone with children yourself, so you should have an opinion or a viewpoint regarding that matter. Next we have quite an open-ended one really, quite a silly one potentially. The perfect tea, milk or water first? Now, as I said before, this might be considered quite a silly topic. However, we're not after something that's going to last 20 to 30 minutes for a discussion. We just want something that can get people in a little bit of a debate. Are you actually respecting the turn taking of other people? Are you listening to other people? Are you taking on board what they're saying and building on their response? What we don't want is people shouting over each other, and as silly as the topic is, this is one that gets quite a bit of debate within the classroom. Next we have, should the voting age be lowered to 16? Again, quite a controversial one. The next one, should schools teach life lessons? Now this is quite an interesting one. So rather than teaching the normally prescribed lessons like English, maths and science, should we teach things like how to manage a mortgage, how to buy a contract phone, simple kind of things that are needed to use in everyday life, potentially things like how to cook, how to look after yourself, how to iron. Should those be more of a focus rather than some of the subjects that a lot of the students may not need in the future? Next we have, does social media have more drawbacks than benefits? Now this is actually on the back of one of the topics we spoke about when we were doing our speaking and listening, and we had that practice of talking in a group, and we're talking about the social media influencers. Again, social media is very big at the moment, so anything like that is likely to get quite a good discussion amongst a group. And finally, should the death penalty be brought back? This always comes up every year because we often think about crime and statistics like that, so it's often quite a good thing to debate. Again, if you've got people from different countries, their viewpoints on this tend to differ ever so slightly, so it's always good to have that discourse and that conversation as well. Now, you don't have to use every single one of these topics, you don't need to use any of them really, but the important thing is that you look through them and you see which ones speak to you. Maybe none of them do, and if that is the case, you can pick something that's more personal to you. If we think about the teacher's top tip here, try to pick a subject that means a lot to you. If you care about it, we're that much more likely to care about it as well. So in terms of our next lesson, we're going to cover the following things. So we're going to recall the top tips to help pass the assessment. We're going to learn how to plan for the assessment. And finally, evaluate the skills needed to be successful. If you need any additional support or help, then new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, you can leave us a comment below or visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and resources on all things English. Thanks ever so much for listening, guys. All the best for your work and your revision in the future. Bye bye.